Welcome to day 9 of our 12 days of transformation. And today we're going to expand on what we did in day 8, which was structures, the changes and the commitment to those changes, the structures you already have that are working. But today I'd like you to think about experimentation of those. So working on what we were going through yesterday, so your list that you've got, the things that are working, experiment with what works for what you're trying to achieve, the transformation you're trying to shift, in the area that you're trying to shift, be it through finances, love life, health, whichever category you're working with, whatever you picked for these 12 days. And if it's something that we're going to work with implementation, you want to work on a deeper level in the 12 weeks, in reference to my members, we're going to be going through each week, each of these topics, week by week, instead of just day by day, and taking and going in more depth. But so what do I mean by experimentation? I mean experiment, literally experiment. So for example, yesterday or in day 8, I said one of the things that I know works for me is when I'm wanting to have more water as my focus in my diet, I set that up the night before. So experiment, see if that works for you. See if having a pattern or a routine at night impacts your morning routine, or the other way around. If you've got a better morning routine, does that impact your sleep? Say if you're working on your sleep. Experiment. So this will probably take a few days, I would say, trial and error, so to go in more depth. But you can experiment throughout the day with little things. Let's give an example. Say if it's exercise, try doing 5 minutes. If that was your target, you wanted to do more exercise, instead of trying to do an hour, do 5 minutes. Oops, excuse me, I think I'm going to sneeze. She says, is it gone? Is it gone? She says, do some Qigong. Okay, so tools and frameworks. So you want to put the frameworks that you've got that are already working and overlay everything that is on maybe your second column that you were looking at. How could I do that yesterday? Now is a day to actually do that, put those into place. So for example, let's think of something that's really simple. So say you wanted to, in this 12 days, maybe it was you were going to tidy up or clear out. So then if in one of your other things that work is every day you always do a little bit of exercise or you always do a bit of meditation, then you add, that obviously works in the framework, either habit stack it onto something that you're already doing. So for example, maybe the school run breaks up my day. Think about the structure of your day and how your day is structured. So for me as a mum, my day is structured with school pickup, drop off, school pickup. So, and then obviously lunch times. So that has a natural structure to it. Bedtimes, whenever you fit in, exercise class times, when I have meetings, and around those times, look at your timetable and your actual structure of your day in a really practical way. If you don't have a structure, maybe this is time to experiment in having a structure. Sorry, the cat's making lots of noise in the background. And how you can add things, or where is the most appropriate place to add that to it. And then you can add a little 10-minute session, right? Okay, every day I'm going to work on, for example, I've got a load of artwork that I need to sort out. So sorting out the boxes and maybe going through on one picture a day I shall put up online. So you add to what you've got working, but experiment. If you find, well, actually 10 minutes means that I've only just got the box out and it's not enough time, I need longer times. Think of it in terms of, and I can't remember the lady's name that said about this. I know this is Crystal. Think of pebbles. Think of big pebbles little pebbles and time segmentation and how much you need. And maybe if there's little pebbles, lots of little pebbles, that stuff that you can do, then that can be the 10 minute slots. But you need a bigger chunk, then you've got a pebble, you're going to need to have a bigger area. And when you're looking at your framework and your structure, so maybe that's something you can do once a week because it takes a long time and you want that to be a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. But it's still having it in your routine and how you can do that. And if you just putting that down, obviously that's not, it will be within the 12 days. We're on day 9. But think about how this can impact you in a positive way and the time it takes, and also take into account, as this today is about structures and frameworks, your own habits. So for example, I'd like you to make a note, and this is today's task, along with experimenting and implementing some of the things that you said you could add into framework from yesterday. I'd like you to think about, when is the best time for you? Are you a morning person? Or are you terrible in the mornings and then late at night is your time that you sit down and you do stuff? Quite often I have to be more flexible in when I can do my recordings, when I can do my classes, even if the kids are at home, for example, in the 6 weeks holiday, because it has to be either done late at night when they're asleep, or in the morning when they're maybe doing other stuff after certain routines. So think about when's the best time for you, but also how that impacts your home life, your work life, and the people around you. Is maybe for the studying example that I used yesterday on the way to work. Well, obviously, if you drive a car to work, then it's fine if you've got an audio or podcasts and sort of books and things you need to listen to for your studies, having in the background. But if it's going to impact your concentration, then that's not the best time. But if you're commute on the train, that can be a perfect time to do that. For me, when I commuted on the way to university in the mornings, I would either sleep because I was up really, really early, and I would go to the gym on the way to university, and I would knit for my constructed textiles degree, or do little weaving stuff on there, or I would have the computer. When I worked up in London with graphic design, I would quite often have my laptop out and I'd be finishing off work rather than doing it when I got home. So I included the travel time to allocate that as well. Okay, that's not say dead time because there is no dead time, but I put that with time slot that I knew I'd have an hour or an hour and a half to sit down. That might be your wind down time, that you listen to certain podcasts, you listen to meditation, and then that's where you have that. So when you come home, because I know a lot of people, they have their decompressed time and they might see that as quite a stressful time, but I swapped that. For me, traveling was the decompression as opposed to the stressor, which it might be for someone who finds it stressful driving in traffic, and that gets that anxiety going on. So that brain chemistry happening, and that addiction is expectation. So you're switching up and trying to slip in place, and it might take time. As we spoke about, it takes between 40 and 90 days to solidify this, but these are things that you can start to implement and see the difference. So what is it we have for tomorrow? So correlation, integration. We're kind of working on this a little bit, but this is continuing to do what we are saying about to do today, to experiment with what works. And tomorrow we're going to talk about integration and how to integrate, which is much the same, but working and building on what we've spoken about today. So I will see you tomorrow. Have a fabulous day. Please feel free to like and share this 12 days of transformation with anyone you feel wants to change or make changes in their life. And I invite you to join my, it's free to just subscribe to my Patreon members, or you can become a Patreon member as well. But you don't have to pay to be a subscriber, just a member. So there is access and more correlation on there and then you get to see whenever I put stuff up and what we're working on with the members. And we will be working on a 12-week from this, moving and pushing. So what we have been planning through, what you've been working through over these 12 days, I'd like to then take it further so you can really cement those patterns in, work out the pathways. In our meetings, we can go over what hasn't worked and sort of speak more about this tool of frameworks and what frameworks work for different people. And it's different for everyone. It depends what type of person you are. If you're someone that needs visual things, if you're someone that actually needs emotional prompts, you know yourself. So that was what yesterday is. It's kind of unpicking self-assessment and learning what works for us, because it's not one rule fits all. I'm afraid there is no, oh, I follow these 12 steps and that would be it, I change. That's not how it works, I'm afraid. However, you can make these big changes when you start to have these little realization. You think, oh, actually that's working. So now when I'm doing this, it's actually made a big difference. And when you start to see it, you can celebrate it. And I truly hope that these tips that I'm sharing can help you with shifting and making transformation in your own life. Love and blessings for your day. I will see you tomorrow.